The vast emptiness of space surrounding Earth's solar system had remained undisturbed for millennia. Humanity had long gazed at the stars, wondering if they were alone in the universe. They weren't, and the answer to that question arrived in the form of the Nelvarian Empire, a species that had conquered 17 star systems and subjugated over 40 alien races across their expanding territory. Admiral Krav Vexlar stood on the command bridge of the Eternal Dominion, the flagship of the Nelvarian Imperial Fleet. His scaled skin shimmered under the ambient blue lighting as he studied the holographic display of the Sol system. Earth was highlighted at the center, a blue and green jewel that would soon become the newest addition to the Empire's collection. Preliminary scans complete, Admiral, reported Sub-Commander Nix, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence as she analyzed the data. The third planet shows signs of industrialization, primitive space exploration capabilities, and rudimentary nuclear weapons. Their technology level registers as Classification 3. Pre-FTL civilization. Vexlar's mouth curled into what passed for a smile in his species. Excellent. Another simple acquisition for the Empire. Have they detected our presence yet? Negative, Admiral. Their detection systems are woefully inadequate. We've been observing them for 3 orbital cycles, and they remain oblivious to our fleet. The Admiral flexed his taloned fingers, already envisioning the accolades that would come with this conquest. Earth was resource-rich, but more importantly, strategically positioned at the edge of 3 emerging galactic arms. It would make an ideal forward operating base for the Empire's continued expansion. Prepare the invasion protocol. We'll follow standard procedure for Class 3 civilizations. Demonstration strikes on uninhabited areas, followed by targeted military installation neutralization. I want minimal infrastructure damage. The Emperor prefers his new acquisitions intact. As the Nelvarian fleet of 200 warships prepared to break their stealth positioning and commence the invasion, they remained unaware that they had never truly been hidden at all. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains in what humans called Colorado, Commander Eliza Reyes stood before a room of Earth's highest-ranking military and political leaders. The underground facility, known only as Bastion, had been constructed in absolute secrecy over the past 25 years, ever since humanity had recovered and reverse-engineered technology from a crashed scout ship belonging to the Traxian Confederacy. That encounter had taught humanity a harsh truth. They were not alone, and the universe was far from friendly. Madam President, distinguished leaders, Commander Rice began, her voice steadied despite the gravity of the moment. The Nelvarian fleet has maintained position for the past 72 hours. Our analysis suggests they're preparing for offensive operations. The room remained silent as the gravity of the situation settled over them. Earth had prepared for this day, but theory and practice were very different things. President Adana Okafor nodded grimly. You've studied their patterns and technology. What are we facing, Commander? Rice activated the central holographic display, showing the positions of the Nelvarian vessels. 200 warships, primarily destroyer and cruiser class, with 1 dreadnought serving as their command vessel. Based on the intelligence we gathered from Traxian databases, the Nelvarians follow a standard conquest protocol for worlds they consider technologically inferior. They'll begin with demonstration strikes to showcase their power, then target our military installations while leaving civilian infrastructure largely intact. And our defenses? Asked General Wei, his weathered face betraying no emotion. A slight smile crossed Reyes's face. Operation Silent Guardian is fully operational. All planetary defense systems are online and ready. The orbital platforms are in position, their stealth systems functioning perfectly. Ground-based ion cannons are charged and targeting solutions have been pre-calculated. The quantum disruption field is stable. She paused, looking each leader in the eye. We're ready. The President stood, her decision made. Initiate defensive protocol Omega. The Nelvarians chose the wrong planet to invade. High above Earth, Admiral Vexlar gave the command to decloak the Nelvarian fleet. 200 warships shimmered into visibility in Earth's orbit. Communication systems across the planet went haywire as the aliens broadcast their message in all Earth languages simultaneously. People of Earth, this is Admiral Krav Vexlar of the Neltharion Empire. Your world now falls under our protection and authority. Resistance will result in unnecessary casualties. To demonstrate our power and the futility of opposition, we will now conduct a controlled display. 5 Neltharion destroyers broke formation, descending into the atmosphere and positioning themselves over the uninhabited Australian outback. They fired synchronized energy beams that carved a perfect Neltharion imperial symbol, a spiral with 3 branching arms, into the desert floor, visible from orbit. Observe the precision and power of the Empire. Vexlar continued. Your military installations have been targeted. Surrender now, and your transition to imperial governance will be peaceful. On the Eternal Dominion's bridge, Nix suddenly straightened in alarm. Admiral, we're detecting energy signatures, thousands of them, appearing simultaneously. Impossible, Vexlar snapped. Their technology doesn't. His words died as the ship's sensors blared warnings. From Earth's surface, oceans, and atmosphere, thousands of previously invisible defense platforms revealed themselves. Orbiting satellites suddenly shed their mundane appearances, transforming into weapon platforms. Even the International Space Station, long thought to be a primitive scientific outpost, reconfigured itself into a command and control center. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Vexlar shouted, but it was already too late. Earth's counterattack began with surgical precision. Quantum-locked energy beams, technology the Neltharions had only theorized about, lanced upward from ground installations, bypassing shields completely and striking critical systems on 20 Neltharion vessels simultaneously. The ships didn't explode, they simply went dark, all systems failing at once. From the oceans rose gleaming silver projectiles, kinetic impactors accelerated by gravity manipulation fields. They struck with devastating accuracy, shattering the hulls of 30 more Neltharion ships before they could even begin evasive action. The orbital platforms activated next, generating localized disruption fields that trapped 40 Neltharion vessels in place, rendering them immobile and vulnerable to the next wave of Earth's defenses. Swarms of autonomous combat drones that attached themselves to the disabled ships and systematically disabled their weapon systems. In the first 90 seconds of Earth's counterattack, nearly half the Neltharion invasion fleet had been neutralized without a single ship being destroyed, just rendered completely inoperable. On the Bastion command floor, Commander Rice watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. Phase 1 complete, Madam President. The Neltharions are in disarray. President Okafor nodded, opened communications with their flagship. Admiral Vexlar's bridge had descended into chaos. Warning systems blared as reports of disabled vessels flooded in from across the fleet. His tactical officers struggled to make sense of the weapons being deployed against them, technologies that, according to Imperial intelligence, should be centuries beyond human capability. Sir, we're being hailed by the human command structure, reported the communications officer, disbelief evident in his voice. Put it through, Vexlar growled, his earlier confidence shattered. The holographic display shifted to show a human female in a military uniform. Her expression was not one of fear or desperation, but calm authority. Admiral Vexlar, I am Commander Elisa Reyes of Earth Defense Command. Your invasion has failed. Half your fleet has been neutralized, and we have targeting solutions for the remainder. To demonstrate our commitment to minimal casualties, we have disabled rather than destroyed your vessels. All crew remain unharmed. Vexlar's scales darkened with rage and humiliation. This is impossible. Your world is pre-FTL. Our intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to see. Rise interrupted. Earth has been aware of the galactic community for 25 years. We chose to keep our technological advancement hidden, knowing that empires like yours would eventually come calling. She leaned forward slightly. You have 2 options, Admiral. Complete surrender, with all vessels powering down weapons and propulsion systems, or we move to Phase 2 of our defense protocol. I should warn you that Phase 2 does not prioritize the preservation of your fleet or personnel." Vexillar's tactical mind raced, seeking some advantage, some explanation for how thoroughly they had been outmaneuvered. But the evidence was undeniable. The humans had not only anticipated their arrival, but had prepared defenses specifically designed to counter Nelvarian technology. "How?" he finally asked, his voice barely audible. "How did you know we were coming? How did you develop these technologies?" Commander Rice's expression remained impassive. "Your empire isn't the first to discover Earth, Admiral. Just the first to announce yourselves so boldly. You have 60 seconds to commence shutdown procedures for all weapons systems, or we will make that decision for you." As the communication ended, Vexillar stared at the tactical display showing his crippled fleet, the mighty Nelvarian Empire, conquerors of 17 systems, had just been humbled by a world they had dismissed as primitive. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a terrifying question formed. If Earth could do this while appearing primitive, what other secrets did the galaxy hold? The invasion that was supposed to last days and secure the Nelvarian Empire's expansion for centuries had been stopped in minutes, and the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted dramatically. Earth was no longer hiding. Admiral Vexillar's scaled hands trembled with rage as he stared at the tactical display. Half his fleet hung dead in space, disabled by weapons he couldn't comprehend. The other half remained operational but surrounded by Earth's defense platforms that had appeared from nowhere, like predators revealing themselves only when the prey was already in their jaws. "Sub-Commander Nix, status report," he demanded, struggling to maintain his composure. Nix's 4 eyes blinked rapidly as she processed incoming data. 97 vessels completely disabled, power systems offline. 43 trapped in some form of localized gravity distortion field. The remaining 60 vessels are operational, but, "Admiral, we're detecting energy signatures consistent with targeting locks from multiple sources." Vexillar hissed through his teeth. This was supposed to be a routine conquest, another primitive world added to the Empire's growing collection. Instead, it had become the most humiliating defeat in Nelvarian military history, and it had happened in less than 5 minutes. "Admiral," Nix said quietly, "the humans have given us 50 seconds to commence shutdown procedures. What are your orders?" Vexillar's mind raced. The Empire did not surrender. It conquered or it died. But he had a responsibility to his crew, to the thousands of Nelvarian lives under his command. "Prepare a tactical jump," he ordered suddenly. "All functioning vessels. We'll regroup at emergency coordinates and return with reinforcements." "Sir?" Nix questioned, disbelief evident in her voice. "A jump this close to a planetary gravity well is extremely dangerous, and our jump calculations are being disrupted by whatever technology they're using. It's our only option." Vexillar snarled. "Transmit the order. Now." In the Bastion Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Commander Reyes watched as activity spiked across the remaining Nelvarian vessels. "They're preparing for emergency FTL jumps," reported Lieutenant Santos, her fingers flying across the quantum interface, charging their drives. President Okafor turned to Reyes. "Can they escape?" A small smile touched the commander's lips. "They can try. Activate the Mobius protocol." Around Earth, hidden satellites that had remained dormant even during the initial counterattack came online. They began generating a complex web of quantum-entangled particles, creating a field that surrounded the planet and extended into near space. On the Eternal Dominion, Vexillar watched as 60 Nelvarian vessels attempted simultaneous jumps to FTL. Under normal circumstances, they would have vanished in flashes of light, tearing holes in the fabric of space-time to escape. Instead, each vessel briefly distorted, stretched as if being pulled through a sieve, then snapped back into normal space. But they didn't return to their original positions. The entire Nelvarian fleet had been rearranged, ships now facing random directions, some dangerously close to each other, their formation in complete disarray. What happened? Vexillar demanded, gripping his command chair as the Eternal Dominion stabilized from its failed jump. Unknown, Admiral, Nyx replied, her voice shaking. The jump failed, but it's more than that. Our positions have been altered. It's as if space-time itself rejected our attempt. The ship's communication system activated again, and Commander Rice appeared on the holographic display. This time, she wasn't alone. An older human male in what appeared to be civilian clothes stood beside her. Admiral Vexillar, this is Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, lead scientist of Earth's Quantum Defense Initiative. I believe you just experienced our Mobius field in action. It creates a localized bubble of altered space-time that prevents FTL translation. Any attempt to jump will simply result in random spatial redistribution within the field. The scientist's calm explanation sent a chill through Vexillar's body. Such technology shouldn't exist, not at this level of refinement, not in the hands of what was supposed to be a pre-FTL civilization. Rice spoke again. Your 60 seconds have expired, Admiral. Since you chose to attempt escape rather than comply with our terms, we will now disable your remaining vessels ourselves. Before Vexillar could respond, Earth launched its second wave of defenses. From the planet's surface rose thousands of small, dart-like objects that accelerated to tremendous speed. They didn't target the ship's hulls or weapon systems. Instead, they attached themselves to specific points on each vessel's exterior. What are they doing? Vexillar demanded as several of the darts attached to the Eternal Dominion's hull. His answer came seconds later when every ship's power systems simultaneously shut down. Emergency lighting activated throughout the fleet as main reactors went offline. Artificial gravity failed, weapons systems died, and life support switched to minimal backup power. In the sudden silence of the Eternal Dominion's bridge, Vexillar floated weightlessly, staring at the emergency holographic display that showed his entire fleet, all 200 vessels of the mighty Nelvarian Empire, dead in space above a planet they had grievously underestimated. Commander Rice's voice came through on emergency channels. Admiral, your fleet has been completely neutralized. We've inserted quantum inhibitor nodes into your power distribution systems. They cannot be removed without specialized equipment, and any attempt to do so will trigger an automated shutdown of your life support systems. She paused, allowing the severity of the situation to sink in. Earth is now sending transport vessels to board your ships. Your crew will be treated according to interstellar humanitarian protocols. You, Admiral, will be brought to Earth to discuss the terms of the Nelvarian Empire's surrender. 7 hours later, Admiral Krav Vexillar found himself seated in a conference room that could have existed on any world. The walls were a neutral beige, the furniture utilitarian but comfortable. The only indication that he was in an alien facility was the slightly different gravity and air composition, carefully adjusted to match Nelvarian physiological needs. The door opened, and Commander Eliza Rice entered, accompanied by President Okafor and several other humans in both military and civilian attire. They took seats across from him, their expressions revealing nothing. Admiral Vexillar, President Okafor began. I am President Adana Okafor, elected leader of Earth's United Nations. Before we discuss terms, do you have any questions for us? Vexillar's scales had dulled from their usual vibrant blue to a muted gray, a sign of extreme stress in his species. How? He asked simply. How did a pre-FTL civilization develop technology that surpasses even the Coreward dominions? Dr. Tanaka leaned forward. 25 years ago, a scout ship from the Traxian Confederacy crashed in what we call New Mexico. The pilot didn't survive, but the ship's database remained intact. It contained a wealth of information about galactic civilizations, including yours. We made a decision then, Commander Rice continued. Earth would present itself as technologically primitive, while secretly preparing for inevitable contact. We diverted significant resources to reverse engineering the Traxian technology and developing our own innovations. But the quantum manipulation field, the gravity weapons. Vexlar gestured helplessly. These go beyond even theoretical applications in Imperial science. Humans have a unique approach to problem solving, Dr. Tanaka explained. When we learned about the physics principles underlying FTL travel and energy shield technology, we didn't simply copy existing applications. We asked different questions, explored alternative applications. Our desperation to protect ourselves from technologically superior aggressors drove innovation at an unprecedented rate. President Okafor spoke again. Now, Admiral, let's discuss what happens next. Your crew is safe. Your ships are disabled but intact. We have no desire for conquest or expansion, unlike the Nelvarian Empire. She slid a data tablet across the table. These are our terms. The Nelvarian Empire will immediately cease all expansionist activities. You will withdraw from the 3 systems you've conquered in the past decade and restore their independence. A human observation team will establish itself in your capital to ensure compliance. Vexlar scanned the document, his disbelief growing with each line. This would cripple the Empire. The Imperial Senate will never agree. They will when they see this. Commander Reyes interrupted, activating a holographic display. It showed the complete battle from beginning to end, the overwhelming defeat of the Nelvarian fleet in less than 10 minutes. This recording is being transmitted across all major galactic communication channels as we speak, along with an announcement of Earth's emergence onto the interstellar stage. Vexlar's scales paled further. You don't understand what you've done. The power vacuum this will create. We understand perfectly, President Okafor said firmly, which is why the second part of our announcement outlines the formation of the Sol Protectorate. Earth is offering defensive alliances to systems threatened by imperial powers. We have already received responses from 7 independent worlds seeking protection. The Admiral slumped in his chair. In a single day, not only had the Nelvarian Empire been humbled, but the entire galactic power structure had been upended by a world that, until today, most spacefaring civilizations had considered irrelevant. There's one more thing you should know, Commander Reyes added, her expression softening slightly. Earth wasn't chosen randomly by the Traxians. Their databases indicated that humans possess something rare in the galaxy, a unique cognitive architecture that allows for innovative problem-solving and technological adaptation at rates unseen in most species. The Traxian crashed intentionally, Dr. Tanaka explained. Their civilization was being slowly consumed by empires like yours. They selected Earth as a last hope, a world with the potential to develop the technologies needed to break the cycle of conquest that has dominated galactic politics for millennia. President Okafor stood. Admiral Vexlar, you have 12 hours to review our terms and transmit them to your government. We recommend acceptance. Earth has no desire for conflict, but as you've witnessed firsthand, we are thoroughly prepared for it. As the humans left the room, Vexlar remained seated, contemplating the unprecedented situation. The mighty Nelvarian Empire, which had expanded unchecked for 3 centuries, had been stopped by a world they'd considered primitive. And now that world was positioned to reshape galactic politics entirely. 3 days later, the Nelvarian Imperial Senate voted unanimously to accept Earth's terms. Within weeks, news spread throughout the galaxy. A new power had emerged, one that offered protection rather than conquest. Dozens of independent worlds and smaller confederations reached out to the Sol Protectorate, seeking alliances and technological exchange. On Earth, Commander Eliza Rice stood at a window in the now-revealed orbital command station, looking down at the blue-green planet below. President Okafor joined her, both women silently contemplating the changed future before them. The Traxians chose well, the president finally said. Humanity may have begun preparing out of fear, but we've ended up offering hope to a galaxy that desperately needed it. Reyes nodded. Silent guardians. That's what Dr. Tanaka called us during the development phase. I always thought it was a bit dramatic, but now it seems appropriate. President Okafor finished. The question is, where do we go from here? Commander Reyes turned from the window, a determined expression on her face. We do what humans have always done when facing the unknown. We explore, we innovate, we build connections, but most importantly, she smiled slightly, we make sure no empire ever mistakes us for an easy conquest again. In the vastness of space, news of Earth's emergence continued to spread. Some received it with hope, others with concern, but all with the realization that the galaxy had forever changed. Humanity had arrived on the interstellar stage, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as protectors, silent guardians who had revealed themselves only when necessary, and whose appearance had shattered an empire in minutes.